Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Talking Pro Football. My name is Michael Carlisle. We'll look back at Week 11 in the National Football League. The latest news and notes will get you ready for Monday night and a whole lot more. Let's jump right in. Week number 11 kicking off Thursday night in Atlanta. The Patriots visit the Falcons. New England, a 6-point favorite going in, and they made it look easy. They were led by a defense that's just out and out nasty. Patriots suddenly playing with a lot of swagger. Mac Jones threw a 19-yard scoring pass to Nelson Aguilar for the game's only offensive touchdown, and Kyle Van Noy and the New England defense took care of the rest. They shut out the Falcons 25-0. It's their fifth straight win. New England has allowed just 13 points in their last 3 games. Matt Ryan was sacked 4 times. He was intercepted twice. All 3 quarterbacks on the Falcons roster threw a pick. New England now 7-4, and the Falcons are 4-6. On to the early games on Sunday. We'll start in Buffalo. The Bills were a 7.5-point favorite at home against the Colts. Jonathan Taylor set a franchise record. He scored 5 times and took over the NFL lead in both yards rushing and touchdowns. 41-15 was the final. The Colts rout the suddenly unraveling Buffalo Bills. Colts have won 5 of 6, and they are right back in the thick of the AFC playoff race. Bills, meanwhile, they gave up the lead atop the AFC East. They fall a half game behind, well, New England. Buffalo, by the way, plays New England twice over the next 5 weeks. Buffalo has dropped 3 of their last 5. They are now 6-4. Indy is 6-5. In Chicago, the Bears are playing host to the Ravens, and subbing for Lamar Jackson, who was out with an illness, Tyler Huntley led the game-winning drive, capped by Devonta Freeman's 3-yard run with 22 seconds left, and the Ravens beat the Bears 16-13. Like we said, Jackson had an illness. It was announced just before game time he would not play, but the AFC North leading Ravens, they rule him out, but they get the win. Justin Tucker kicked 3 field goals. The Ravens came away with the win after losing last week at Miami. Chicago's Andy Dalton threw 2 touchdowns, including a 49-yarder to an open Marquise Goodwin. In the closing minutes, Justin Field left this game with injured ribs in the third quarter. The Ravens improved to 7-3. The Bears, well, they've dropped 5 straight. They are 3-7. In Cleveland, the Browns were hosting the winless Lions. This was a close one. It was an ugly one. Nick Chubb caught a touchdown pass. He ran for 130 yards and helped run out the clock as the Browns held on. They avoid the upset. They keep the Lions winless. 13-10 was the final. Chubb was returning to Cleveland's lineup after a 1-game absence due to COVID. Browns now 6-5. They're still in the hunt in the AFC North. The Lions, well, they're 0-9-1. The Tennessee Titans were big favorites at home against the Houston Texans. 10.5-point favorites to be exact. None of that mattered. The Texans snapped the NFL's longest active losing skid. They beat the Titans 22-13. They end the league's longest win streak in the process. It was a wet and rainy day in Tennessee. Texans came in having lost 8 straight since winning their season opener. They hadn't scored a touchdown on the road since September 19th. The AFC-leading Titans, meanwhile, snapped their 6-game win streak with their first loss since October 3rd. They're now 8-3. The Texans are 2-8. A good divisional matchup in Minnesota with the Vikings hosting the Packers. The Packers came in slight favorites in this one, but Greg Joseph hit a 29-yard field goal as time expired to give Minnesota the 34-31 victory over the Packers. This was a classic back and forth, the kind you come to expect between these 2 division rivals. Minnesota's the only team in the NFL this season to hold a lead of 7 or more points in every game, and all but one of their games have been decided by a score. Kirk Cousins threw for 341 yards and 3 touchdowns to help the Vikings stay one step ahead of Aaron Rodgers for most of the day. Justin Jefferson had 8 receptions for 169 yards and 2 scores. Rodgers, meanwhile, 4 touchdown passes in the losing effort. He was 23 of 33, a season-high 385 yards for the Packers. Vikings now 5-5. Green Bay slips to 8-3. The New York Jets were at home. They were playing host to the Miami Dolphins. Tua Tagovailoa threw a go-ahead 5-yard touchdown pass to Myles Gaskin early in the fourth quarter, and the Dolphins held off the Jets 24-17 your final in this one. Tagovailoa finished 27 of 33, 273 yards, had touchdown passes to Gaskin as well as Mac Hollins. Joe Flacco, meanwhile, made his first start in the place of injured Zach Wilson, who missed his fourth straight game. New York opted to go with the 36-year-old Flacco over Mike White, believing that the veteran would give them a better chance against Miami's aggressive defense. That didn't work out so well. Flacco wasn't bad, though. He was 24-39, 291 yards, pair of touchdown passes. Not enough, though, as the Dolphins improved to 4-7, while the Jets dropped to 2-8. The New Orleans Saints were on the road. They were visiting the Philadelphia Eagles, and Philly stuck to their run-first approach. They dominated the NFL's top-ranked rushing defense. Jalen Hurts ran for 3 touchdowns. Darius Slay returned an interception for a score, and the Eagles beat the Saints 40-29. Miles Sanders ran for 94 yards. Hurts had 69. Jordan Howard added 63. The Eagles rack up 242 yards on the ground against a team that was allowing 72.9 yards rushing per game going into this one. Eagles have ran for at least 175 yards in 4 straight games now. They're now 5-6. Trevor Siemian threw 3 touchdown passes, also had 2 picks in the losing effort for the Saints. They dropped to 5-5. The Carolina Panthers were at home against the Washington football team. It was Cam Newton's return to Carolina. He got the start for the Panthers. He was upstaged, though. It was Taylor Heineke throwing for 206 yards and 3 touchdowns against the league's top-ranked pass defense. Washington spoils Newton's return to Bank of America Stadium. 27-21 was the final. Washington gets the win over Carolina. Terry McLaurin, 5 catches, 103 yards, and a touchdown. Washington piled up 369 yards of offense in this one. Cam Newton, meanwhile, 21 of 27, 189 yards, 2 touchdown passes in the loss. Washington improves to 4-6. Carolina now 5-6. Jacksonville Jaguars were at home. They were playing host to San Francisco. Niners making a cross-country trip following a short week that included arguably their most impressive win of the season. The Niners were looking to avoid a letdown in Jacksonville. They did that and more. They delivered a beatdown. Jimmy Garoppolo threw 2 touchdown passes for the 3rd straight game, and the 49ers dominate Jacksonville. 30-10 was the final. It was the 49ers' 3rd win in 4 weeks. San Francisco scored on their first 5 possessions, including opening the game with a 20-play field goal drive that took more than 13 minutes off the clock. With the win, the 49ers improved to 5-5. Jacksonville, well, they're now 2-8. On to the late games on Sunday. We'll start in Las Vegas, where the Bengals were visiting the Raiders. Joe Mixon ran for 123 yards, scored 2 touchdowns, and he celebrated in the end zone by pretending to shake and roll a pair of dice as the Bengals defeat the Raiders 32-13. Cincinnati came out of their bye week and snapped a 2-game losing skid. They climb back into the AFC North race, while the Raiders lose their 3rd straight since their bye week when they led the AFC West. Raiders have been outscored 96-43 since their bye week. They dropped to 5-5. Bengals, meanwhile, improved to 6-4. The Arizona Cardinals were on the road at the Seattle Seahawks, and once again, the Cardinals without Kyler Murray. And when called on 3 weeks ago, Colt McCoy viewed himself as a caretaker. The Cardinals were already off to a fantastic start, and McCoy viewed his job when Kyler Murray went down with the ankle injury as trying to avoid giving away what the Cardinals had accomplished. Colt McCoy, to his credit, has done more than that, and his best performance was likely his last start for Arizona, with Murray expected to return next week. McCoy threw for 328 yards and a pair of touchdowns. The Cardinals beat the Seahawks 23-13. McCoy went 2-1 with Murray sidelined, including road wins in the division at San Francisco and at Seattle. Cardinals going to their bye week with the best record in the NFL. They are 9-2, and every expectation is they'll not only have Kyler Murray back after the bye, but DeAndre Hopkins as well. Seahawks, meanwhile, they are toast. They fall to 3-7. The Dallas Cowboys were on the road at the Kansas City Chiefs. Chris Jones had a day, 3.5 sacks. He forced a fumble. He recovered a fumble and helped the AFC West leading Chiefs roll to a 19-9 win over the Cowboys. The defense helped bail out Patrick Mahomes, who had 260 yards passing, also had an interception and a fumble. Clyde Edwards-Helaire added 63 yards rushing and a touchdown for the Chiefs in his return from IR. Dak Prescott held at just 216 yards passing, also had 2 picks for the Cowboys. To be fair, he was missing a whole lot of help. Left tackle Tyron Smith missed his 3rd straight game with an ankle injury. Amari Cooper tested positive for COVID on Friday, and fellow wide receiver CeeDee Lamb sustained a concussion just before halftime. Also, running back Zeke Elliott tweaked his ankle early on. He finished the game 9 carries for 32 yards. Kansas City, though, they go out and take care of business. They are now 7-4. The Cowboys slipped to 7-3. The Sunday night game, and what a game it was. The Pittsburgh Steelers were on the road at the Chargers. It was a crazy back and forth fourth quarter. Justin Herbert and the Chargers, they outlast Ben Roethlisberger, and the Steelers 41-37 was the final. After watching their 17-point lead disappear, Herbert responded by hitting Mike Williams for the game-winning 53-yard touchdown pass with 2:17 to go. 2 sacks on Ben Roethlisberger on Pittsburgh's last drive sealed the win for the Chargers. It was the Chargers' 6th win of the season. They're now 6-4. The loss, meanwhile, drops the Steelers to 5-4-1. Week 11 in the National Football League will wrap up Monday night in Tampa Bay. The Buccaneers are big favorites against the New York Giants. How big? 11-point favorites. Now, the Buccaneers have lost 2 straight games. They failed to cover 3 of the last 4 weeks. Tampa Bay beat New York 25-23 in an ugly primetime game last year. That said, Tom Brady set the tone for this game after last week's loss to Washington with his 2-minute press conference that he walked out on. This is the perfect matchup for the Buccaneers to get back on track. I think they take full advantage of it. I like Tampa Bay in this one. Let's take a look at the standings after the Sunday action in the NFL. We'll start in the AFC East, and like we alluded to earlier, a new leader atop the division. It's the New England Patriots. No surprise, they've ruled this division for years and years. Things have been different as of late, but with Buffalo's loss and New England's win on Thursday night, the Patriots now 7-4. That gives them a 1-game lead over the Bills. Now, as we also mentioned earlier, those 2 teams will meet up twice over the next 5 weeks, so we'll see how that plays out. But an interesting race atop the AFC East all of a sudden. Dolphins, meanwhile, are 4-7. The Jets, they are 2-8. In the AFC North, this is a tight one. The Ravens, still your leaders. They're 7-3. But you've got the Bengals at 6-4. You've got the Steelers at 5-4-1. And the Cleveland Browns, 6-5, certainly not out of it. The AFC South, even with their loss on Sunday, the Tennessee Titans continue to rule that division. They are 8-3. The Colts, they're coming on strong, but they're still just 6-5. I think the Colts are definitely a wild card contender. I don't know that they're going to be able to catch the Titans, though, in that South. You've also got the Texans. They're 2-8. The Jaguars 2-8 as well. In the AFC West, the Kansas City Chiefs at 7-4 are your leaders. The Chargers are right on their tails at 6-4. Then you've got the Raiders and the Broncos, each 5-5. Over in the NFC, we'll start in the East. The Cowboys at 7-3. Then you've got the Eagles at 5-6, Washington 4-6, and the Giants 3-6 headed into Monday night. In the NFC North, the Packers 8-3. That's better than the Vikings at 5-5, the Bears 3-7, and the Lions 0-9-1. In the NFC South, Tampa Bay is 6-3 headed into Monday night. The Saints 5-5, Panthers are 5-6, the Falcons are 4-6. In the NFC West, the Arizona Cardinals, the best record in the NFL, 9-2. The Rams are 7-3. 49ers now 5-5. The Seahawks are 3-7. Let's take a look at some news and notes in the National Football League. Let's start with that Sunday night game. Justin Herbert was on fire Sunday night. 30 of 41, 382 yards, 3 touchdowns. He also ran for